Well, Roy, I appreciate you stopping by. The Florida Citrus Hall of Fame has two missions. One is to recognize people who've made significant contributions to the industry, and the other is to tell the story of Florida citrus through oral histories, through interviews and videos like this. We want to capture events and stories that aren't going to be in newspapers or places like that. So today we want to talk about marketing citrus and Farm Bureau's marketing program and some of the characters you've dealt with within the Florida citrus industry. But before we do that, we have to take care of some very important information. We got to tell Gus who we are and spell our names, and that way he doesn't get confused when he has to post this video. So I'm going to do this for the 500th time, Gus. John Jackson, John Jackson, and this is my friend
Roy Singleton, RoySingleton.
All right, now we can get going. You and I have known each other for a long time, and we had lunch a while back, and I want to talk a little bit about your upbringing and how a marketer gets involved in that unique area of moving a product. You were born in Union Springs, Alabama.
Yeah.
So as a boy, how were you involved in agriculture?
Well, I was raised on a small farm in Alabama. Both my parents we had a poultry farm, a chicken farm. We raised 20,000 broilers, and now that's not much at all. But back then, I mean, we did it all by hand. We fed them by hand, and we had automatic waters. So we were the only people in the county that had automatic waters back in 1959 when we built the chicken house. But we raised chickens, and we also had row crops. But we had a small farm. It was about 40 acres, and but we used every bit of it. We raised cattle, and of course we sold produce, and that's how I got started in marketing. We had a huge garden. We called it a field. It wasn't a garden, but we raised anything you could think of in the way of vegetables. And my mama would take orders, and then I would deliver it on my bicycle. And then when it got too far away to travel, she bought me a Suzuki 50 when I was 14 years old. And I would strap the corn or peas or whatever on the back of that little Suzuki 50, and away I'd go delivering the produce to people. And that's how that was second income, because my dad, he worked in the cotton mill, and we had the chicken farm, and we made a little extra income doing that. And then when I started in school, I went to a school that we had to have pay some tuition, and so that was another way of raising money for the tuition, was to sell the produce. And then I think I told you I got into the peanut boiling business, and that went real good until my mama told me I was using too much gas boiling those peanuts, and so she told me to put a pinch of soda in there, and I put a pinch in there, and it didn't seem to do much. So I said, well, I'll put a half a box in there. So that made the peanuts tender, and they cooked off faster, but they didn't taste real good. But after I'd put all that work into those peanuts, those boiled peanuts, I went ahead and bagged them up in these little brown paper bags, and put them in my basket on the back of my little scooter and motorcycle, and went to town and went around. And I remember going to U.S. Auto Parts, and Mr. Duck Dykes and Ray Mason were in there, and they always liked my peanuts. So I went in there kind of with my head down, and I gave him. He said, "Yeah, I'll take a bag," and Mr. Ray took a bag. And Mr. Duck Dykes, he was known to take a drink every once in a while, and so he dove into those peanuts pretty quick. and I was in a hurry to get out, and I heard him cussing when I when I went out the door, and I never went back to that auto parts, and that kind of that was my experience in boiled peanut business. But so,
but you learned a valuable lesson that if you want to have repeat customers, you got to deliver a quality product.
That's right, and ever since then I have.
I know so. And, you talk about raising the vegetables and selling them, and nowadays that's becoming a popular thing. And I remember from my economics that if you were vertically integrated, that you were able to maximize your returns. And this is a classic example. We're out here at a farm that the growers produce citrus and sell the juice. They squeeze it right here. They grow their own vegetables, but they don't go through a middle person. They sell it directly to the consumers, and people come from quite a ways to get fresh squeezed juice, to buy the vegetables, and to participate. So the younger generation is doing what you did many years ago, a little bit different scale. Yeah. They're bringing people to the farm rather than you taking the food to the farm. Although Rex Clontz, good friend of mine.
Oh yeah.
You know Rex?
Oh yeah.
Well, Rex started out in the farming business on the Zellwood muck and growing corn and
celery,
radishes, and some other things, and celery up there. Got in the citrus business when the Water Management District bought the muck, the Zellwood muck. And now Rex is back at the old homestead in Oviedo, and he is in the vegetable business. And it's a little bit different now, Ray. You sign up with Rex for a program. Basically, he'll grow the vegetables for you at his farm, and you come pick them up. And so if you're on the weekly plan or the monthly plan, whatever he has that's in season and good quality, he grows for you. And so kind of a different slant on marketing. So now let's get to what we really want to talk about. How did you get involved in marketing citrus?
Well, I was in high school. I was involved in FFA, at 4-H and FFA, and then and it just came natural because being raised on a farm. And then when I was in college, a Bonnie Plant Farm, and now it's called Bonnie Plants, but they're from Union Springs, Alabama, and I knew Miss Bonnie, that the farm was named after. Now they're
huge.
They're huge. Largest retail plant company in the country, I guess, probably in the world. But anyway, we when I was going to college, I would work for them I started out as a helper, and then had my own route as a salesman. And in Tennessee, I started in Tennessee. So I would work 6 months with Bonnie, and I'd go to school 6 months because I went to Troy State, or Troy University now, and they were on the semester system, so rather than the quarterly system. So it worked out real good. Now they're on the quarterly system. But so I worked with them, and I met a fella that I worked with, and he was the brother-in-law of Rayford Farrington. You know Rayford. And so Rayford hired me to come to Florida. We got to be friends. He hired me to come to Florida to sell citrus. And I told him, I said, I've never seen a citrus tree. The farthest south I've ever been was Panama City. So I came down here, and he put me in charge of what we call our reciprocal program with Farm Bureau, where we would bring commodities in from other states and sell them to our members, because we were shipping citrus through our citrus program to those states. Illinois, Wisconsin, wherever. So we'd bring cheese in from Wisconsin, apples from New York, frozen fruit from Michigan.
So the idea was that this was farmer to farmer.
Farmer to farmer.
I'm growing my stuff in Michigan. I'm selling it to a farmer in Florida, and who's selling his stuff to me.
Matter of fact, I changed the name of it. They called it the reciprocal program because we were reciprocating. I changed the name to farmer to farmer, marketing or member-to-member marketing, because that's what we were doing. And so then I was introduced into the citrus business back in 1978, and that's when I met, of course, Ray Gunther from here in Umatilla and Al Kuntz from Fort McCoy, and they had a wealth of knowledge in the citrus industry, and I tried to absorb all of that I could. And Mr. Floyd, that is
Carol Floyd.
Carol Floyd, this in the Citrus Hall of Fame, he was still alive at that time, and Mr. Floyd taught me a lot about pound solids and ratios and all of that kind of stuff. And then people like Chris Blanton, they taught me about root stocks, and I was a younger.
You were just a sponge soaking
Yeah,
up
I
all
was
this.
just soaking all that up, and that's how I. And then later on,
now Rayford took you to Gainesville, so you started off with Farm Bureau
started out in
Gainesville.
Gainesville, and then after a year, he promoted me to sales manager for Florida Agricultural Marketing Association for all the citrus and everything else we were selling, nuts and all the reciprocal stuff too. And so that's when I really got into the citrus end of it and started traveling all over the country promoting citrus. And then I would bring those customers from Wyoming, Illinois, Wisconsin, New York, New Hampshire. We shipped to 30 states. So once a year, we would have a spring citrus conference, and we would bring these customers in. Actually, it was not all of the customers, it was the coordinators for each state that worked with Farm Bureau. And we would bring them in and take them all over the citrus industry and try to teach them about citrus and encourage them to reciprocate with us. And you always spoke at our conference. I remember your carousel of slides. You'd come in with that carousel of slides.
A county agent's always got to have slides and handouts. You can't do it without either one of them.
You always had that carousel of slides and that projector, and always did a good job for us.
We're off and running. Now, you kind of inherited a program, though, that goes back a ways. Tell me your recollection of Glenn Tyre and Jack Allen, because I believe they kind of were the instigators of the citrus program.
They were. Jack Allen was. I never knew Mr. Allen, but he was on our Florida Farm Bureau Federation Board of Directors, and he was chairman of the Citrus Advisor Committee, and I think he was also chairman of the Young Farmer and Rancher Committee. But long story short, he was from here in Umatilla, and he had a large navel grove that he had produced. And at that time, from my understanding, Florida had a hard time getting people used to the idea that Florida grew navels. They only thought California could grow navel oranges, and that was the most popular hand-eating orange there was at the time, and probably still is. And so he came up with the idea of starting the citrus program, and he talked Glenn Tyre into managing that, and Farm Bureau hired Glenn Tyre, and Glenn told me the story that they gave him $5,000 seed money to start the program, and Glenn went all over the country promoting it with the brochures and promoting the idea, and actually signed contracts with other farm bureaus that we would, marketing contracts that we would market our member-grown citrus. And then they contracted with packers to pack it for us. And then Glenn brought in Ray Gunther and Mr. Carol Floyd as an advisor, and Al Kuntz as a grower relations manager. And the program just took off. And then they they said, well, we want orange juice too. So they started pool programs. We had a navel pool, of course, and then we started a grapefruit pool, a Temple orange pool, because we shipped a lot of Temples. We had a Tangelo pool. We had different. Then we got into the concentrate fruit business, and Mr. Floyd helped us develop a high density concentrate. Rather than mixing 3 cans of water, you mixed 5 cans of water. And one advantage of that is we could put that high density concentrate, because it had twice the amount of citric acid, twice the amount of natural sugars, which both are natural preservatives. We could put that in a refrigerated truck versus a frozen truck. So we could put the concentrate on the same truck with the fresh citrus and ship it to New York, New Hampshire, wherever, and it worked out real good. And that also gave us something to market in the summertime after fresh season was over.
Well, I've been talking to Glenn, and Jack Allen, like you said, had this navel grove, and the problem with navels early on in Florida was that they didn't juice very well because of the navel end, and you'd get some oil and peel oil and stuff in there, and so you couldn't squeeze navels as hard, and the juice was difficult to obtain. And Jack Allen is saying our navels are as good or better than those in California. We got to figure a way to market these. And then as the program got off the ground and started going, and Glenn would talk growers into putting some of their navels with Farm Bureau, and he's returning 2, 3, and 4 times the price per box that they're getting otherwise. Didn't take long before you had a huge amount of Florida navels that were being sold. And I'm going to assume, Roy, that once the word got out, and once people in Illinois and Michigan and Pennsylvania, farmers were getting navels from Florida, and they were good, they told their friends about it, and pretty soon, I think you being Farm Bureau, elevated the navel orange from a secondary fruit that we had to be careful about squeezing into a prime fresh fruit that has been like that ever since.
Yeah, the farmers up there, they loved it. Cook County, Illinois, I remember we would ship just to that one Farm Bureau office. It was their insurance office. We would ship 2 tractor trailer loads of navels and a tractor trailer load of grapefruit, and they would say, we want to rent your trailer for 3 or 4 days, and we'd just drop the trailers there, and members would come from all over the county and adjoining counties and come and pick it up. They loved our navel oranges, and it's sad that the greening has really hurt them now, but yeah, the navel orange was the foundation of our citrus program. We did a lot of other things, the concentrate and Valencia pools and all that, but
it was a springboard, and it was so successful because it brought a reasonable and excellent return for navel oranges on the market, and it established your organization as an excellent way to market the fruit. So here you are, you've got a marketing organization. Farm Bureau owns not a single acre of citrus. Farm Bureau has no packing house. Farm Bureau has no processing plant. Farm Bureau has no pick and haul company. So how was this? How'd you work this whole thing? How'd you coordinate all this?
Well, I didn't set it up. People like Al Kuntz and Glenn Tyre and folks like that set it up. But it worked out great because we had a lot of these small packing houses back then, almost 50 years ago now. Yeah. So they had a lot of these small houses. So, it helped a lot of the small packing houses and the small growers. So we would contract with the packing house because most of the packing houses had a small picking crew. Some of them had larger picking crews. So we would contract with the packing house to to get it harvested. And a lot of the growers had their own harvesters. So what we would do, if they participated their fruit with us, we'd pay them right away. We'd pay them the pick and haul, the cost of harvesting the fruit and the cost of hauling it to the packing house. And then we would pay partial payments after that until usually around March or April we would finalize the navel pool, usually about the middle of March. And like you say, we always had great returns for our growers because we would have less involved. We didn't have any marketing cost because we took a very small amount to operate the program. And we had other products that we used to supplement our income, like the peanut program. We did thousands and thousands of cases of nuts. We'd put those on the same truck with the citrus. You was talking about returns. In our Valencia pool for years and years and years, when we had the Valencia pool, we always had if not the highest, one of the highest, and a lot of times the highest return on the Valencia pool of anybody in the state.
Now you functioned as a co-op, kind of like.
Basically, we operated as a co-op.
Because when you talk about pooling, this means that good friend of mine, Jim Simpson in Mount Dora, he would put his navels in Farm Bureau, and let's say that Rex Clonch put his navels in Farm Bureau. They all were shipped, and when you got the final payment for all the fruit that you sold, then you divided that up on how much they put in there. You couldn't separate Jim Simpson's navels going through a packing house and getting X number of dollars in Ohio.
No, it was based on their percentage of pack out, but it was also pooled together, like you say, but it was also based on that grower's percentage of pack out. The higher pack out he had, the more packed cartons he had. So there was a formula that we used, basically, that Scotty Butler, you probably remember him, but Scotty said, under Florida statutes, we did operate as a co-op at that time. But yeah, we always had great returns. Jim Simpson was actually we had a citrus marketing advisory committee in addition to our citrus advisory committee in Farm Bureau Federation. And Jim Simpson was the chairman of our citrus marketing committee.
Well, Jim was in co-ops, and Jim sold fruit directly, and so he was one of those astute growers that would shop around and everything else. So you got to have some great stories about growers, about packers, and so forth. You were telling me that y'all used Hurlong for a while in Leesburg.
We did. We used Hurlong was one of our main packers because it's right there close to us in Leesburg to our marketing headquarters. But we used a lot of small houses, and then as the freezes came, a lot of the smaller houses started dwindling down. And then we ended up using other co-op packing houses. Winter Garden CGA packed a lot of fruit for us. Then we also Dundee Citrus Growers Co-op. Dundee packed a world of fruit for us. But after the freezes, the pool programs got real hard because the growers didn't have that much fruit. So during the freezes of the 80s, we had to start expanding. Of course, we had growers in Lake, Polk, Volusia. We had not a whole lot in Volusia, Orange County. We had growers all around, but during the freezes, we had to start reaching out. Of course, we had growers in Hillsborough County, but we ended up having to go to Hendry County and we started having to buy navels because the market was going up because there wasn't that many around.
Yeah, the demand was still there, but your longtime growers up here didn't have the fruit to provide.
Right, we had we bought fruit from Florida Power. They had a big grove of block of navels down north of Lake Okeechobee, and yeah, we had to scrap for a while.
Yeah. So now you weren't truly then marketer, I mean grower to grower now, because you weren't just handling Farm Bureau member fruit. You were, and listen, that's what happened with other people. Golden Gem,
Right.
In order to keep this packing house running in Umatilla, they were buying fruit all over South Florida. And you know, I had some friends that in Fort Pierce, for example, and they said, how in the heck can Golden Gem pay the price that they are for a grapefruit in St. Lucie County, haul it to Umatilla and pack it and make any money? Because I'm growing it, hauling it 20 miles, and I can't make money at that price. And so all the economics that were involved, and fortunately for Farm Bureau, Roy, you didn't have a $5 million packing house with a debt on it that you had to worry about. You didn't have a processing plant. You didn't have all these capital expenses. And so you could do the numbers pretty easily, and you managed to make it work out.
Yeah, they, you know, like I said, you know, they started out with $5,000 seed money, but the program paid for itself. You know, Farm Bureau had other marketing programs too. We had a feeder calf program where we had staff that not in the citrus division.
Yeah.
This was another part of Florida Agricultural Marketing Association, but they would buy feeder calves all over the state and ship them out west to the feedlots and to the Midwest to the feedlots, and then during the fuel shortage in 70, was it 72, 73?
Yeah, sometime.
I wasn't working for Farm Bureau then, but the cattle prices took a dive, and they lost some money, quite a bit of money in the cattle business. But the citrus program paid those debts off. We weren't making a lot of money per box or per field box, but we had a lot of volume, and a lot of volume at a short period of time. So, you know, one program helped the other program out.
So you were, the program is still going on.
Oh yeah,
it's
sure.
still functioning. I believe
It's not like it did. Not like it was.
I believe you told me that you were forced to sometime to bring navel in from California.
Oh yeah, we matter of fact, we have to buy a lot of navels from California because of the shortage of navels and the greening problems, and you know, the bricks, and it just kept dropping, and acid. The quality wasn't there, and so we had to switch over to California navels. And
I know.
but you know, to keep the program viable. But
see, that's the problem. The problem is you created too good of a program. You created too much of a market, too much of a demand out there that Farm Bureau wasn't going to turn it over to somebody else. And so you've got a program that's still economically viable. And even though it's not functioning like it was originally with a Florida grower, fruit going to a Farm Bureau person in Illinois, but you are still providing fruit, quality fruit, wherever you can get it to maintain and keep the program going.
We still ship to several of those Farm Bureaus that we did 50 years ago, like Kentucky Farm Bureau and Illinois and places like that. But then several years back after the freezes, and we still work with Florida packing house. Dundee Citrus Growers does all of our shipping for us. They still.
When you get the navels from California, they come in bulk, or they already boxed?
No, they're already boxed, and we mostly deal with Sunkist, and those the fruit comes in from California and to Dundee, and then we mix it with whatever. We make a lot of gift packs now. We went from shipping 100% to other Farm Bureaus. We went from that to, and then we started a fundraising division back in the 80s, and started out with Ohio FFA, and then we went from one state to the other, and I did a lot of traveling, and now fundraising is the major part of our program. We diversified, as the market changed, we changed, because a lot of the folks that did our programs through Farm Bureau, they're either passed on or they've got other programs they're doing.
So now rather than all the fruit going to Cook County Farm Bureau, you might have a trailer that goes to Cook County Farm Bureau, but you'll also have fruit delivered to a Kiwanis Club, a Band Boosters organization in Cook County that's using that fruit as a fundraising project.
Mostly because of us being Farm Bureau, and we're huge supporters of 4-H and FFA, as you well know. I would say 90% of our fundraising business is FFAs. We are the largest shipper of fresh citrus to FFAs in the country.
Well, that's fantastic. If I'm an FFA student, I'd much rather be selling navel oranges than toothbrushes or chocolate or Band-Aids or whatever some of these things they get stuck into doing, Well, it's interesting that the program is still going. Now, even though it's a citrus division, you handle other products besides citrus.
Oh yeah, we don't call it the citrus division anymore. Okay. On our sign it says Florida Farm Bureau Marketing Division, and of course we're still FAMA, F-A-M-A, Florida Agricultural Marketing
But you don't sell feeder steers.
We don't. We got out we got out of the feeder steer business, but I still love beef and a good steak anytime. But we do bring in products from all over the country and sell to our members as a member service. If you're a member of Farm Bureau, you can buy our products at any Farm Bureau in the state of Florida. We bring in meat from different states. We still bring in the frozen fruits from Michigan. We bring in frozen vegetables from Georgia. We do Vidalia onions from Georgia. You name it. We have something going year round that we're marketing to our people in Florida, our members in Florida. And we still market. Nuts are big, because we have a lot of peanut farmers out, from Ocala west. We have a lot of peanut farmers in Florida. So years ago, one of our board members, he said, he happened to be the vice president at the time, he said, we were talking about how great we were doing with what a good job we were doing for the citrus growers, and he said, well, why don't you do something for us peanut farmers? And so we said, yeah. So we started selling a few nuts in the shell, and then we roasted nuts in the shell, peanuts. And then we came up with the Florida's Best Southern Fried Peanuts. And now we do several tractor trailer loads of nuts. We ship them all over the country.
So now I have to be a Farm Bureau member to take advantage of this program?
In some counties, we tell, it's an advantage to be a Farm Bureau member. You get a $500 discount on if you buy a new Ford pickup truck or Ford car. If you're a Farm Bureau member, you get a $500 discount. If you're a member of Farm Bureau, you can buy all of our commodities that we distribute to the Farm Bureaus all over the state. Some counties will sell to non-members, but they do that to encourage them to become a member of our organization.
So are the products delivered to Farm Bureau offices like they were
Still doing it the same way we did, and we started the reciprocal program in 1975, 74, 75, and we're still doing it the same way we did in 1974, 75. We bring the products in. We advertise in our Farm Bureau newsletter that goes out to every member in the state. Then they place their order. Then we order the products in from all the different states, and then we consolidate them at our warehouse there, and we have refrigerated trucks that we sort the orders by county and then deliver them, and they call the members and they come pick them up.
Well,
it don't cost, it pays to be a Farm Bureau member.
It sounds like to me the next thing that needs to happen is that you need to take up the model of Amazon and start delivering it out there and
delivering to their home.
Yeah, there's got to be money in there. How many Amazon trucks have put FedEx and UPS out of business?
We do have a gift fruit program also. I didn't mention that, but we started with GNS, I'm sorry, not CNS. I'm thinking of a trucking company I used to use. But we started with GNS, and they were the grandfather of the
number one shipper of gift fruit
of the gift fruit program, and we started out with them. And
so you were basically order takers for them.
Yeah, we basically take order, and then we created our own website for the gift fruit program. And now Dundee, they have a huge gift fruit program. Now Dundee markets all of we actually have the toll-free numbers you can call 24
but now,
hours
I don't
a day.
have to be a Farm Bureau member to get
You don't have to be a Farm Bureau member to participate in that, and you don't have to be a Farm Bureau. We also have a website for our fundraising program, and you don't have to be a member to
I might have to check and see how your prices compare with Pete Spike's prices up at the yarn shop in Citra.
It's all about the presentation.
Yeah, well, Pete was a county agent for a couple of years, and he and I are good friends.
Yeah.
I don't, you kind of have some loyalty some places, but it's interesting, Roy. You get in an area and you kind of are familiar with that, and you don't realize all the allied things that are going on around. When you're a county agent, you spend 95% of your time with growing it, helping growers with fungicides, insecticides, foot rot, cold protection, all that. You don't get out so much, and with packing houses, for example, we had specialists at Lake Alfred. Dr. Wardowski would deal with the packing houses because, I had trouble keeping up with what was going on in the Grove, much less all the materials that were SOP and all these things to treat the fruit with, and my marketing education went like this. The reporter would call and say, we understand that the citrus industry is importing juice from Brazil. Isn't that killing the Florida grower? And John had a big mouth, and so he would talk to the reporters and make some comments. And it would be in the paper the next day. And that afternoon, I'd get a telephone call from John Allen and John Nelson at Golden Gem. And he would invite me for lunch at Pine Meadows. And so I'd go have lunch with Mr. Nelson. And Mr. Nelson would explain to me why we had to bring juice in from Brazil. And he said, our number one goal with Golden Gem is to keep customers. If you're a marketer, you got to keep customers. Right. You learn right ahead. If you give a customer a bag of peanuts, it's full of baking soda. You're not going to keep that customer. And so in order to keep customers, we have to have a supply. And if we don't have enough in Florida, we bring it in from Brazil to keep our customers happy. And that ultimately means that the Florida grower is getting more for his fruit because we're selling it, keeping our market, everything else. So I'm gradually learning, that when you peek in the door, you see a little bit, but when you get in the room, it's a whole different picture. And I knew Glenn. I've known Glenn forever, and I knew Jack Allen well and Jim Simpson, and I knew about the program and some of the basics of it, but I never understood all the details, and realizing how what you were able to do in Farm Bureau marketing was to take the ability to reach out to knowledgeable buyers. I mean, Farm Bureau people were knowledgeable in what they wanted and understand it came from Grove. And you also had the credibility of Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau wasn't going to sell something to another Farm Bureau that was a second-rate product. So you had some advantages, but you managed to take that and expand it and enhance it to the point now that it's a dominant marketing tool used in Florida. benefited the farmers tremendously and been a real asset to Farm Bureau members all over the country. That's just amazing.
Well, you know, you were talking about quality, and we were, you know, everybody says we're all about quality, but we were. Farm Bureau was. We actually hired our own quality control manager, and we at our office over in Leesburg, we had a little test room there, and we actually, and Al Kuntz and David Rue and Ray Gunther, they would all go out and take samples, you know, whatever we were needed to pick that week or the following week, grapefruit, navels, whatever. And we actually had the hydrometer, the whole deal over there, and we had our own little test room, and we would test the product. And then when we were packing the fruit, we also sent our inspector to the packing house to make sure that, you know, they were being sized right, or we were packing, you know, if it had some melanose on it or something, we could stand a little bit but not a lot, you know, things like that. So quality and dependability is one thing that the two main ingredients you have to have in a good marketing program.
Well, you know, Roy, we're putting together a project we're calling the Citrus Crate Label Tour, and we're putting 4 foot by 4 foot aluminum signs that have crate labels on them, and then on that, each label will have a QR code that goes to a website and talks about that particular label and the packing house and everything else. And as I do the studying and look, packers were putting these labels on the end of their cartons, and they were shipped to auction and people would buy it. And the marketers, the packers, were smart enough to know that if they could have a label that was the best, the very top-notch fruit that they had, they could get a premium price, and if times were tough, people would buy that. And so we're in Umatilla, and Umatilla Citrus Growers Association, been in operation since 1909, and Mr. Hipson, the manager, was able to have the label called Duckhead their #1 label. And so it got to the point that if you were a buyer in Boston and you saw Duckhead on the carton, that's all you needed to know, that you were going to get a great quality product. And so from the very beginning, people understood you had to have quality and it had to get there in time, right? So it hasn't changed. The basic principles, how we do it, have changed a lot, but still the basics of it. And as I look, some of these organizations couldn't survive tough times. It looks like you see a company disappearing and somebody else buying their equipment in the 30s. And so some organizations went under during the Depression. Others figured a way to survive during the Depression and came out even stronger. Farm Bureau has figured out how to survive freezes and all the other things and still be a strong marketing organization.
Yeah, we went through it all. Canker, you name it.
You suffered with the growers.
We suffered, but we came out on top. But yeah, it's been a great program for Farm Bureau. And one other thing I was going to tell you, and I'm bragging, you know.
Sure.
As my mama said, it's a poor dog that won't bark for her puppy. And but I would like to brag on Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau, Florida Farm Bureau, had the first marketing program in the United States. And it was the largest marketing program for years. And now it's one of the only marketing programs left. But we were the first and the largest marketing program in the country. And I think it's due to all of those people before me that had the vision to, like you say, had the vision to put all that together and to be successful and to work with the growers, and it's still going. And I worked with Farm Bureau for 40 years, and I love every bit of it. It was a great organization, and a lot of the growers that I worked with, and they've all passed on, and a lot of them are still living. But I really, really enjoy it. I've got one good friend that's he's a Gator, and he's 91 years old, and we're still good friends, and we handled a lot of his fruit for years and years and years.
Well, you know, you were a good friend to these people. A, because you cared about them, and B, when you walked in the door, you had a check that was more for their navels than they were getting other places. and
Yeah.
that was, and when you told them, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you did it, you know, those
Yeah.
are the things that entrust you and ingrain confidence with the grower. So it's fun, and I always enjoy talking to Glenn, and Glenn left the packing house business to get involved in the marketing, and he understood that, and I know that we lost Jack Allen way too early, but Jack Allen was on my advisory committee, and he was a unique guy. It was always fun to talk to him. And so those are the kind of stories that we want to pass on, that for people to understand that when you get involved in agriculture, it's a different situation. And I tell this story quite a bit. When you're a county agent, the extension office has opportunities to go to career days at middle schools. And whenever it's your year to do the career day thing, you pack up your handouts and you head over. So I was at Oak Park Middle School in Leesburg. And the last period of the day, I had 10 or 15 students in there, and I'm talking about agriculture. So my first question always is, what's agriculture? And, you know, the kids would say, it's growing corn, it's having cows, you know. And then I would move into my little spiel. So sixth period, class comes in, front row, young lady dressed like she could go to work in Sun Trust Department tomorrow. I ask, what's agriculture? And she raises her hand. I called on her, and she says, a way of life. And I just kind of took me back, you know. And either A, she was prepped, or B, she's pretty perceptive young lady. But you know, when you think about it, Roy,
I bet she was a farm girl.
I don't know, but I wasn't born into agriculture like you were. But when you deal with farmers and you see the love they have for the land, the commitment they have to producing a good product, the willingness to share, you know, this isn't like I have some trade secret and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, you know. Growers share what's happening. So, and it the same way with Farm Bureau, though, it was a way of life for those guys, you know, and you understood that and appreciated it. I just marvel and why they would keep planting groves back, or why they keep doing this, but it's because they love to do it and they have a commitment to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased you took time to tell your story, and it'll be posted. You'll be part of Gus has 5 million followers on YouTube, so we're liable to be well known throughout the country.
I hope I didn't tell too bad stories.
Thank you. We didn't go on to some details. We could have told some other stories.